The Cry in the Cold Night. HFY sci-fi story. The wind howled across the frozen plains of New Ceres, a quiet human colony far from Earth. Snowflakes danced in the dark, sharp like tiny blades. Everything was still, until someone knocked on John Carter's door. John was alone that night. He always was. He lived in a small house on the edge of the colony, where the stars felt close and the silence felt heavy. He stood up from his small dinner and walked to the door, confused. No one ever came this far. The colony center was miles away. The knock came again, soft but desperate. Cautiously, John opened the door. His breath caught in his throat. There, in the snow, was a bundle of dark cloth. It moved. He stepped closer. A sound escaped from it. A weak, high-pitched cry. A baby. He dropped to his knees, pulled the cloth open, and gasped. The child was small, with pale blue skin, glowing eyes, and no hair. It wasn't human, an alien baby. John looked around. "Hello? Is someone there?" The wind answered him. He hesitated, but only for a moment. He couldn't leave a baby to die in the cold. Carefully, he picked the child up and carried it inside, wrapping it in a warm blanket. As the door shut behind him, he didn't see the figure watching from the shadows. An unexpected visitor an hour passed. The child slept in a basket near the fire, its strange eyes now calm. John sat in silence, staring at it. So many questions swirled in his head. Where had it come from? Why leave it here? Then a noise came from outside. A groan. A thud. He grabbed his old rifle and opened the door again. Just a few steps away lay a figure, collapsed in the snow. It was tall, thin, wrapped in torn fabric, and clearly in pain. Its skin was the same pale blue as the child's. Its chest moved slowly, barely alive. An alien woman. John rushed to her side. She looked up weakly, her eyes full of fear and exhaustion. She tried to speak, but only a harsh whisper came out. She pointed toward the house. Her child. John nodded slowly. "All right, I'll help you, just stay with me." Bringing her in, he dragged her inside, careful not to frighten the baby. He laid her on a mat by the fire and fetched warm water and his med kit. Her body was bruised. Frost clung to her skin. John wasn't a doctor, but he knew enough. He wrapped her wounds and gave her sips of water. She flinched at first, but didn't resist. As the fire warmed the room, the alien mother's eyes found her child. A tear rolled down her cheek. She reached out a hand and touched the baby's face. The baby cooed. John watched silently. His rifle sat nearby, but he didn't reach for it. He didn't feel threatened. He felt something else. Sadness, fear, desperation, danger. In the air later that night, as the woman slept, John sat outside watching the sky. He lit a small cigar, though he rarely smoked. His thoughts were heavy. He knew what the colony would do if they found out. Aliens weren't welcome here. They were feared, hated. Ever since the war with the Kari, the laws had become strict. But this woman, this child, they weren't soldiers. They were survivors, and now he was a part of it. Morning trouble. At sunrise, a loud buzz filled the air. A patrol drone flew over the area, slow, scanning. John stood still, watching it disappear behind the cliffs. He returned inside, locked the door, and looked at the two sleeping figures by the fire. He had a choice now: report them, or protect them. He looked at the baby again. It opened its glowing eyes and smiled. John sighed. "Guess I'm not alone anymore." He sat beside the fire, warming his hands. The alien mother stirred in her sleep, her breathing steadier now. Tomorrow he'd have to figure out what to do next. But for now, they were safe, and that was enough. The sun barely touched the sky, but John was already awake. He hadn't slept much. His mind was racing. Inside his small house, everything had changed overnight. One moment, he was alone. The next, There was an alien baby sleeping in his toolbox, and an injured alien woman on his living room floor. The awakening, the fire, had burned low, but the room was still warm. The alien woman stirred, groaning softly. John rushed to her side, a cup of warm water in hand. She opened her eyes, bright silver, tired but alert. For a second, she looked at him with panic. Her body tensed, and her hand reached toward the baby's basket. John raised his hands. Easy. He's safe. You're safe. She blinked, confused, breathing hard. Her lips moved, but the language was unknown, sharp and soft, like wind through metal. He knelt beside her. I don't understand you, but I'm not going to hurt you. She looked into his eyes and saw no threat. Slowly, she relaxed. Her hand touched the baby's cheek. A tear rolled down her face. John pointed at himself. John. Then he pointed at her. She looked unsure. Then slowly she touched her chest and whispered, Velra. John smiled. Velra. And the little one. She placed a hand over the baby's tiny chest. Vera. John repeated it quietly. Vera. The name no one heard. The day passed quietly. John gave Velra soft food and helped her sit up. She was still weak, but stronger than the night before. She watched John with careful eyes. He worked on a broken engine, always glancing at her and the child. He didn't speak much, just smiled sometimes. In the afternoon, Velra pointed to the engine and spoke a few words. Her voice was low, cautious. John frowned. You know this? She stood slowly, wobbling, and pointed again, showing him a small part he missed. Blinked, then laughed. You're a mechanic too, huh? Velra gave the smallest smile. They didn't share a language, but they were starting to understand each other. The trouble outside. That night, as John stepped outside for air, he heard the sound, a low hum, a mechanical chirp. He turned his head and saw it, a colony patrol drone hovering nearby. Its scanner flashed red, then blue. It had detected something non-human. John's stomach dropped. He hurried back inside, locked the door, and shut the power off. The lights faded. Velra sat up, alert. She could feel the fear in the room. John whispered, They're looking for you. She looked at him, confused. He pointed to the ceiling. The drones. Velra's eyes filled with dread. She held her baby tighter. A promise. Made John lit a single candle. The soft glow lit Velra's face, tired, but calm. He sat across from her. I don't know why you're here, he said softly. I don't know what brought you to my door, but I won't turn you in. Velra stared at him. Then slowly she reached out her hand. John took it. 2 worlds, 1 moment. A silent agreement between them. Outside, the drone passed by, unaware. But inside, something bigger was starting. Final scene, cliffhanger. Later that night, when the house was quiet and both mother and child were asleep, John sat alone. He opened his old radio, used for emergencies, and checked the last incoming transmissions. 1. Message repeated. Alert. Unknown biosignature detected near Zone 12, potential threat. Report sightings immediately. Zone 12. That was his zone. He looked back at Velra and Vera, both asleep by the fire, and he whispered to himself, I didn't find them by accident, as someone sent them here. Hunted by humans. HFY sci-fi story. John knew the colony wouldn't stay quiet forever. The drone's scan had passed by, but it would come again. And next time, it might not come alone. He had to make a choice, and fast. Stay and risk everything. Or move them before it was too late. A dangerous decision. At sunrise, John packed what little he had, blankets, tools, food, water, and carefully prepared his underground storage room. It was small and cold, but hidden, built into the base of his old workshop. Velra watched him with tired eyes. She didn't need a translator to understand. They were no longer safe. She held her baby close. Vera was growing stronger, but she still needed warmth, food, and a mother who wasn't running for her life. John looked at both of them and nodded. "We go tonight." To visit that evening before they could leave, someone knocked on the door. John froze. It wasn't like before. This knock was loud, heavy, repeated. Military knock. He grabbed his rifle but didn't open the door. "John Carter," a voice called. "Out." "This is Patrol Chief Weller. We need to speak." Velra grabbed her child and slipped into the storage room below the floor. John covered the hatch quickly. He opened the door halfway. "Yeah? What is it?" Weller stood there with two armed guards. His face was tense. "We detected something unusual near your property last night. Colony scanners picked up a biosignature. Not human." John kept his face calm. "I didn't see anything. Maybe just a wild animal?" Weller stared at him. "We'll be scanning your land today. Full sweep. You'll stay in town until we're done." John forced a smile. Of course. But inside his heart raced. They were running out of time. The escape that night, when the guards were gone and the skies were clear, John opened the hatch. Velra crawled out, eyes wide and scared. Vera was wrapped in cloth, silent in her arms. "We go now," John whispered. They moved quickly, through the back door, past the snowy hills and down a frozen path only John knew. His workshop was an old mining outpost, half collapsed, forgotten by most. But inside, it still had power. Lights flickered on as they entered. It was cold, dusty, and hidden beneath rock. Perfect for hiding. Velra looked around, uncertain. John smiled faintly. "Not pretty, but we're safe." Tracked. What John didn't know was that someone had already tracked them. A silent figure moved through the trees. Behind them, covered in armor, wearing a scanner over one eye, not colony police, a bounty hunter. He spoke into his communicator. "Target located. Mother and child confirmed. Human aid confirmed. Waiting for Purge command." Then he crouched in the dark and waited. A new bond inside the outpost. Velra sat beside an old heater, holding her child. Vera giggled, glowing faintly in the low light. John sat nearby, watching them. "You're not just running, are you?" he asked. Velra met his eyes and slowly nodded. She opened her hand and revealed a small crystal. It pulsed with light, blue and silver. John leaned forward. "What is that?" Velra placed it in his hand, then spoke softly, slowly, in broken English. "They want her. Not for war, for control." John stared at the baby. "What can she do?" Velra looked down. "She is not normal." Then Vera touched the crystal in John's hand. It lit up the entire room. John gasped. Not just light, images, maps, data, stars. The baby had triggered a hidden technology, something powerful, something ancient. Final scene, cliffhanger ending. Outside, the bounty hunter stood and aimed a laser marker at the building. He pressed a button on his wrist. A red beacon shot into the sky. The Purge Council was coming. And now, they knew exactly where to strike. John couldn't sleep that night. He sat, near the heater, staring at the crystal Velra had given him. It still pulsed faintly in his palm, like a heartbeat. Vera had activated it without touching a button, just by being near it. What kind of child could do that? Velra rested nearby, eyes half closed, arms around her daughter. But John could see that she wasn't sleeping. She was listening, waiting, afraid. The past revealed before sunrise, Velra finally spoke. Not in her own language this time, but in slow, broken English. She pointed to Vera and said, "She was made, not born." John blinked. "Made?" Velra nodded. "I was forced. My DNA mixed with others, from old races, lost ones. She placed her hand gently on Vera's head. She is many. She is... First, John whispered. First of what? Velra's voice dropped to a whisper. First of a new kind. The signal spreads unseen by them. The red beacon that marked their location had already been seen. In orbit above New Ceres, a black stealth ship uncloaked. Its name, Purge Council Unit 7. Inside, cold-eyed soldiers studied the signal. They wore dark armor, their weapons silent, their faces emotionless. Hybrid signature confirmed. Prepare strike. But they didn't know one thing. The hybrid child was already changing. Strange powers. Later that day, Vera sat beside an old terminal in the workshop. It had never worked, not since the colony wars, but when she placed her hand on it, the screen lit up. Then a map appeared, not of New Ceres, not of the nearby systems. A star map, thousands of points, many blinking red. John stared at it, stunned. She's accessing lost data, Velra said softly. She remembers things. I never told her. Languages, places, machines. John looked at her. How? She is a living key to something very old, something buried. The attack. Begins a sudden roar cut through the air. The workshop shook. John jumped to his feet. What was that? A second blast hit, closer this time. Dust rained from the ceiling. Then a red laser beam sliced through the door. They were found. Velra grabbed Vera and shielded her. John grabbed his old plasma rifle. The wall exploded. 3 black-armored Purge soldiers stepped inside. Without warning, they opened fire. Vera awakens. John returned fire, ducking behind a generator. Velra shouted, Go! Take her and run! But, before John could move, Vera began to glow. A light rose from her skin, bright, blue, humming with energy. The soldiers paused, confused. Then she screamed. The sound wasn't loud, but it hit like thunder. The lights blew out. The floor cracked. Every screen in the room glitched. The Purge soldiers dropped to their knees, shaking. Then the light burst outward, pushing them back like a wave. When it faded, the soldiers were unconscious. Smoke filled the room. John stared at Vera. She looked up at him and smiled, like nothing had happened. Final scene, cliffhanger ending. John helped Velra to her feet, still shaken. What is she? He asked. Velra answered quietly. She is hope. And that's why they want to destroy her. John looked outside, where other ships were landing in the distance. Dozens more. Too many to fight. He turned to Velra. We can't hide anymore. She nodded. Then we run, to where her kind came from. John asked, Where's that? Velra looked up at the stars. Earth. Escape from the colony. HFY sci-fi story. Smoke rose from the broken walls of the workshop. The air was thick with dust and burning metal. John's hands were shaking. They had survived the first attack, but more ships were landing. He could hear them now, engines howling in the sky like wolves. He turned to Velra, who held Vera close to her chest. The child was quiet now, but a faint blue glow still shimmered in her tiny fingers. John clenched his jaw. We can't stay here. Velra nodded. They will not stop. He grabbed his tools, a pack of food, and his rifle. Then we don't stop either. A plan in pieces, John led them through an old mining tunnel beneath the outpost. It hadn't been used in years, but he knew where it led, a hidden transport dock deep in the canyon. One ship remained there, an old courier vessel, rusty, barely working, but fast. If it could fly, they had a chance. As they moved through the tunnel, Velra whispered, Earth. It's far. John looked at her. I know, but it's the only place that might protect her. He looked down at Vera. She's not just your child anymore. She's the galaxy's turning point. Purge patrol closing in above ground. The Purge forces began to spread out. Drones scanned the area. Soldiers followed heat signatures, tracking footsteps in the snow. One of them paused over the tunnel entrance, scanning deeper. It picked up movement. Target found, prepare to breach. But before they could act, the scanner glitched, screaming with static. The soldier backed away, confused. Vera, deep in the tunnel, was glowing again. Even without trying, she was defending them. The broken ship. John, Velra, and Vera reached the dock just as the canyon shook from another blast. The courier ship sat like a forgotten beast, half covered in dust, metal scorched, panels loose. Velra looked doubtful. "It will not fly," John smirked. "It will if I say it will." He ran inside and started flipping switches. The engine coughed. Lights flickered. The ship groaned. Velra strapped herself in beside the child. John shouted from the cockpit, "Hold on tight!" The ship lifted, barely. Sparks flew, the wings groaned. But they were in the air. Then the alarm screamed again. Missiles incoming. The sky battle. The ship broke through the canyon and soared into open sky, just as two Purge fighters locked on. Velra cried out, holding Vera close. John twisted the controls, dodging a blast that nearly tore the wing off. "I need a miracle," he yelled. And he got one. Vera reached out toward the screen. Her hand glowed. The ship responded, systems lighting up, weapons activating. Without touching a single button, she fired the ship's lasers. One Purge fighter exploded in a flash of Harisoy. The second turned away, retreating. John stared at the screen in disbelief. Velra whispered, "She knows the ship." Breaking orbites. The stars opened above them. The ship shuddered. The colony's orbital guns were locking on. A voice came through the comms. "Unidentified ship, turn around or be destroyed," John growled. "Not this time." Vera placed both hands on the console. The stars around them bent. For a second, the ship vanished, blinking through space in a way no human engine ever could. When they reappeared, the colony was far behind. The stars were silent. They were safe. For now. Final scene. Cliffhanger ending. In the cockpit, John breathed deeply, looking at Velra and the child. He smiled. "Remind me never to bet against you two." Velra touched his shoulder. "You protected us. Now we protect you." John looked out the window at the stars. Earth is still weeks away. If the Purge follows us. Velra nodded. "They will." Then, Vera opened her glowing eyes and spoke her first word, "Home." The stars stretched endlessly across the black sky. Inside the small courier ship, John sat in silence. The controls hummed quietly under his hands. Behind him, Velra cradled Vera, who was finally asleep, glowing faintly in her mother's arms. They had escaped New Ceres, but peace never lasts long. A message from Earth. John activated the long-range comms. He hadn't sent a signal in days. It was risky. The Purge Council could intercept anything. Still, he had to try. "To any Earth command station receiving this is John Carter, former colony engineer. I'm carrying a mother and child, non-human, but they're not a threat. The child, she's different, she's powerful, and she needs protection." He waited. No reply. Then static. And then a voice. "John Carter. Message received. Earth Command acknowledges transmission. But you're not the only one heading here. Be warned. The Purge is coming too." Purge Command moves. On the edge of the solar system, far from Earth, a Purge flagship exited dark space. Massive, silent, deadly. Its scanners already locked on John's ship. A red marker blinked on its screen. Inside, cold figures sat around a table. The hybrid has activated ancient tech that cannot be allowed. We wiped the system, Earth included. They pressed the command. A drone fleet was launched. Earth was now a target. The child's vision. That night, while John rested and Velra watched the stars, Vera woke suddenly. She didn't cry. She stared ahead, eyes glowing like twin moons. Then, she spoke again, slowly, softly. "They're coming." Velra rushed to her. "What do you see?" Vera touched her mother's face. "Fire. Machines. Earth burns." John sat up, startled. "What did she say?" Velra whispered. "They will attack Earth. They'll destroy everything, just to stop her." John stood. "Then we don't go to Earth to hide." He turned to the ship's console and flipped a switch. "We go to Earth to warn them." The arrival. 3 days later, the ship reached Earth orbit. The blue planet shined. Below, peaceful, quiet, unaware of what was coming. John activated the distress signal. "Earth Command, this is John Carter. Repeat, I am not alone. I have something you need to see." Silence. Then dozens of fighters appeared, circling his ship like sharks. A message came through. "Unknown vessel, prepare to be boarded. Human and alien stand together." Soldiers stormed aboard with rifles raised. They froze when they saw Vera, glowing, floating slightly above the floor. One officer stepped forward. What is she?" John raised his hands. "She's not dangerous, but she's what the Purge is afraid of, and they're on their way here." The officer hesitated. "We don't believe in fairy tales." Then Vera lifted her hand. She touched the control panel of the Earthship. Every screen came alive. Images, maps, warships, Purge fleets. The room fell silent as a warning spread across every console. "Galaxy-wide threat detected. Purge fleet en route to Earth. Estimated arrival, 6 days." Final scene, cliffhanger ending. Inside a hidden war room deep under Earth's surface, military leaders stared at the data Vera had revealed. General Sloan looked at John. "You brought us something we can't ignore." John nodded. "She's the reason they'll come. But she's also the reason we might survive." Velra stepped forward. "She needs Earth, and Earth needs her." Then Vera's voice echoed again. "I am not the end. I am the beginning." Outside the Earth's orbit, the sky darkened. The Purge fleet had arrived. A Family Beyond Stars, HFY sci-fi story. The sky above Earth turned red. Purge ships, black and massive, slid into orbit like silent shadows. Dozens of them, each one built for one purpose: to erase the hybrid child and anyone who tried to protect her. Inside Earth's defense base, alarms screamed. Vera stood in the center of the war room, tiny, glowing, and calm. John stood beside her, heart pounding. Velra's hand never left her daughter's shoulder. Across the room, General Sloan stared at them with fear and wonder. "What is she really?" John answered first. "She's hope, but only if we let her be." Earth prepares for war. All across the world, Earth's ships powered up, cities locked down, anti-orbital cannons spun into position. But Earth had never faced an enemy like this. The Purge didn't send demands. They sent silence. And then, the first attack. A bolt of energy cut through a satellite station. The blast wave reached Earth's upper atmosphere. Earth returned fire. But it wasn't enough. The hybrid's choice in the control room. Vera floated above the floor. Her body glowed brighter with every second. Her voice echoed, not from her mouth, but from everywhere. "I can stop them, but I must leave." Velra gasped. "No, you're just a child." Vera looked at her mother and smiled softly. "I was a child before they came. Now I'm more." John stepped forward. "What do you mean, leave?" Vera turned to him. "They're linked to me. They're machines. They're minds. If I go to them, I can break the connection." Velra fell to her knees. "You'll die." Vera shook her head. "I'll become something else. Something beyond." The final flight with Earth's approval, Vera stepped into a command ship, alone. John and Velra stood outside the launch bay, watching through tears. John whispered, "You changed everything." Vera looked back one last time. So did you. The E-2 ship launched straight into the heart of the Purge fleet, the transformation. The Purge fleet surrounded her. They charged weapons, but before they could fire, Vera's light burst outward, brighter than a star, not a bomb, not an attack, a pulse, pure thought, pure memory, pure unity. The machines stopped moving. The weapons fell silent. Inside each Purge ship something changed. A message appeared. We are not enemies, we are your future. The fleet disarmed itself, and then every ship slowly turned away and vanished. A new era begins back on Earth. John and Velra waited. For hours there was silence. Then the sky lit up again. But it wasn't war. It was her. Vera reappeared, not in a ship, but in light. A hologram, a voice, a signal to all of Earth. I am safe. I am part of something bigger now. I am watching. I am with you. And I will return when you are ready. Final scene. Years passed. John built a new home near the stars. Velra worked with humans to share knowledge, and sometimes, on quiet nights, they looked to the sky, waiting, hoping, and somewhere beyond the stars, Vera watched, not just as a child, but as a bridge between species, a symbol of peace, a family beyond stars. The end.